Hey everyone, it's EverythingeeB here. Today I am going to talk about my experience using iOS 16 over the summer break and whether I recommend it after 3 months of usage and updates. In my last video about iOS 16, I was quite harsh with my criticism as I was genuinely frustrated at how buggy it was. Cellular data has gotten so much slower, apps stopped downloading a little while ago, however it does work fine now, and the battery life has basically gone to shit. Thankfully, ever since then, the situation with bugs has mostly improved, with glitches less common while using the OS. This video will recap the features that were already there back when I made my first video on iOS 16, and the features that have been added now, and whether I consider them worthy enough to actually go out your way to upgrade. I will also be going over whether iPhone 6s or 7 users should actually update or not. First, I'm going to start with the features and how much I've used them since they were introduced. I have a ton of lock screens ready for me to use, so I've definitely been using that feature a lot. However, it still does have some frame dips when navigating the changer. However, this is something I've accepted as a reality now with using iOS 16 on such an old iPhone. In case you guys didn't know before, I am daily driving this new beta on an iPhone XS, which is not that old to be honest, with battery at 84%. Therefore, my experience is pretty close to basically the worst, considering that there have now been 4 generations of iPhones that have preceded this one. However, my experience is not as bad as one of my friends who uses iOS 16 on his iPhone 8 with 80% battery health. He has a lot worse time with his phone than I do, and that seems to be a general problem with using iOS 16 on an iPhone 8. So if you have that phone, just be wary of that when you upgrade. Anyways, kinda got off topic there. I use the edit iMessage feature very frequently as a lot of time I can make spelling mistakes while typing on my iPhone. However, I find that a lot of the time, by the time I realize I needed to edit or unsend a message, the option is completely gone, which is pretty jarring to say the least. Aside from that, the other feature I almost always use is the album art on lock screen feature. I have wanted this back for so long, and when they reintroduced it in July, I started using it all the time while listening to music. It doesn't feel the same as on iOS 6, where it feels natural there, or on iOS 10, the last version to support it. However, it still works pretty well. A feature that was surprise added at the beginning of August is the battery percentage on the battery indicator on notch iPhones. This was a welcome change, at least for me. I was tired of having to swipe down the notification center to check my battery. I know that sounds kinda lazy, and that's probably because I am quite lazy. However, I think a lot of non-lazy people like this fix as well. Moving on from the features, we have to talk about stability. This is by far one of the most important subjects for me, as I want to be able to rely on my phone when I need to use it, like many of my viewers out there. In June, when it was in its first couple of betas, it was pretty painful to use. You can hear the frustration in my voice when I'm talking about it in that video, and that's because I was very frustrated. And the developer beta on this phone is truly awful. I'm not kidding when I say that. There are consistent bugs that can be found throughout the operating system on a level that I never experienced with the iOS 14 or 15 betas, despite 15 being the buggiest release since 11. However, I'm happy to report that it's much better in these last few betas, not only because older iPhones are getting features that the new ones are getting, for example, support for astronomy wallpapers, but also because it feels a lot less buggy in general. Cellular speeds are back to normal, battery life is kinda okay, still not as good as when I was on iOS 15, however it's okay like I mentioned. There's still the occasional bug here and there, but that's definitely excusable. The phone also doesn't feel slow to use, which if it was, I would just switch to Android to be honest. So in conclusion, I think that this is a worthy upgrade. It's not as buggy, I don't know how many times I've said that already, and it has some genuinely useful quality of life changes. If you're on the iPhone 6s or 7, which aren't getting the new update, I wouldn't say that it's enough to upgrade. Those phones still work decently well as actual phones, with LTE support and every major app still working as intended. However, if you're like me and you can't live without new features coming every 2 seconds, I would definitely look towards upgrading to a 10R or 10s, as that phone is also pretty decent value for what you're getting. I'm going to end this review here. I apologize if I sound very conflicted. However, I just started school again, and as such, my brain is a mess. If you didn't enjoy this video, which is highly likely, don't like, comment, or subscribe. I'll see you all next time.